innovation dans un grand Sudbury. Je m'appelle Gisèle Roberts et je suis la gérante d'innovation et de commercialisation à l'Université Laurentienne. Before we get into the crux of this event and the reason we are gathered virtually today, I would like to acknowledge that this land on which we live, learn, work, and lead is in the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory. We are located on the traditional lands of the Atikamekw, Anishinaabeg, and the Wanapitei First Nation. Comme nous ne sommes pas tous réunis à un même lieu, nous sommes conscients que cette reconnaissance de territoire ne s'applique peut-être pas au territoire sur lequel vous vous trouvez actuellement. Si c'est le cas, nous vous demandons de prendre la responsabilité de reconnaître le territoire traditionnel sur lequel vous vous trouvez et les titulaires actuels du traité. Innovation for a Greater Sudbury is an annual collaboration between many of the partners here today. I'm not going to introduce everybody on our organizing committee since everybody will be speaking and presenting to you, and I'm afraid of missing someone. And many of our members may not actually be speaking, but we'll have someone from their organization participating. But our first event was held way back in 2010. And our focus has traditionally been on building relationships and creating connections and highlighting innovators in our community. This year, we have expanded our organizing committee to include the many members of the innovation ecosystem that we'll be presenting to you today. The Startup Network is a back-to-basics approach that will highlight the many resources, funding, and program opportunities available to you as entrepreneurs and innovators as you launch new companies or grow and expand existing ones. L'objectif de notre événement aujourd'hui, intitulé Le réseau des startups, est de vous aider à mieux comprendre les possibilités qui vous sont offertes en tant qu'innovateurs et entrepreneurs et de faciliter une introduction aux individus au cœur des entités qui peuvent vous supporter. S'il vous plaît, notez que bien que les présentations et les discussions se dérouleront en anglais, nous sommes plusieurs présents ici pour répondre à vos questions en français ou en anglais. Before handing things over to our moderator, I would like to highlight a few housekeeping items. Our event today is broken down into two segments. The first will be short 3-minute presentations by each of our participating organizations. Following the last presentation, we will have a short Q&A period. To ask questions, you have two options. One will be to raise your hand using the hand emoji by clicking on the reaction button at the bottom of your screen. And once you receive an invitation to unmute yourself, then you will be able to ask your question. Alternatively, you can post a question in the chat, and my colleague Mike Comito from Cambrian College will make sure your question is answered by our members. Following the first Q&A, we will launch into the second half of our event with presentations from our three guest speakers who have graciously agreed to join us today to share their experience and perspective on starting and growing new companies here in Greater Sudbury. And that'll be followed by a facilitated discussion and Q&A with our moderator. So on the topic of moderator, I would like to now hand things over to Josie Frescura, who will act as our maître de cérémonie for the rest of our event. Josie graduated from Laurentian University with an honors Bachelor in Commerce in 1994. His work experience was developed primarily within an entrepreneurial family-owned business, including his own co-startup software development company. He has gained experience in strategy, quality management, systems development, human resources, operations, and networking. Josie has been in the telecom industry for over 20 years in strategic roles. He loves tech, innovation, and leaders, which is why we have asked him to join us today. Over to you, Josie.
Thank you so much, Giselle. Welcome to Innovation for Greater Sudbury 2022 edition. It's a real pleasure and honor to be with you all. And many of you I've had the opportunity to get to know over the years. And so today we've got 10 speakers that we get to hear from. And so without further ado, we're 11:09. So let's kick it off with Brendan Skiffington. So Regional Innovation Center Coordinator, NORCAT Innovation, Investment Associate, Sudbury Catalyst Fund, Advisor for Axion Fund, Northern Ontario Initiative. Brendan's background is in international business and has traveled 15 countries during this time in school. Welcome, Brendan.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, a lot of careful planning while I was over there, but a lot of fun. But we all know how the world went, so I found my way back here, hometown of Sudbury, and I was fortunate enough to get a job here at NORCAT in Innovation. So for the sake of time, let's get right into that, NORCAT Innovation and some of the services that we provide. So NORCAT as a whole is a multinational global company that offers various programs, services, and resources in Canada, United States, and in Chile as well. But for the sake of this presentation, we'll just focus in on innovation and the Underground Center. So NORCAT Innovation is focused on supporting early stage tech startups and the people founding them. And we do this by providing access to key resources and the connections that you need to grow and scale your ventures. And a big part of this is working with community partners, a lot of which you'll hear from today, in order to make sure our clients are maximizing the amount of resources that they have available to them in Sudbury to accelerate their growth. So NORCAT ourselves, we offer mentorship services. So we'll pair you one-on-one or with a group of mentors. These are local successful entrepreneurs, and they'll provide you with advice and insight as you grow your business. We have capital services. So depending on your needs, we'll pair you with the appropriate equity or non-equity funds, market intelligence services, startup education. So all the on-demand courses from the basics of Entrepreneurship 101 all the way to some more technical courses like international growth strategies. We also have some innovation space, so pre-production engineering space that our clients can utilize. We also have access to hot desks, boardrooms, office spaces, everything clients need to conduct business in a professional setting. And we also have a long list and growing list of client perks, everything from free consultation with IP agents to heavy discounts or credit towards some of the most common software startups use. We're also part of the Sudbury Catalyst Fund, which is a unique $5 million venture fund administered by the Nickel Basin Federal Development Corporation in collaboration with the City of Greater Sudbury, FedNor, and NORCAT. And essentially, our goal is to invest $5 million over 5 years into local companies, so majority operations in City of Greater Sudbury. And we'll match 1-to-1 up to $250,000 on your current round. Briefly touch on the Axion Fund. So this is a fairly new fund. It's Canada-wide, but we have a Northern Ontario initiative this year, which is just focused on IP-driven startups with a Northern Ontario focus. So our goal is to attract, mentor, coach, and fund early-stage startups and scale-ups located in Northern Ontario or have plans to settle in Northern Ontario. And a new one coming in 2022 is the Phoenix Fire Fund, which is, again, an angel stage investment fund, but we're focusing on investing in women entrepreneurs across Canada with international scalability. And to wrap it up, we have the NORCAT Underground Center. Pretty unique. We're the only innovation center in the world that has an underground operating mine, given our geographical location. A lot of mining tech companies in our portfolio. So these companies can actually develop, test, and demonstrate their products underground. And as you can see here, we also opened up a brand new facility. So again, office spaces, desks, boardrooms, everything they need to conduct a business in professional setting. So that's the majority of our services. There are a few, and there's a few more that we can't talk about that are coming up this year. So encourage everyone to follow our socials, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the Q&A.
Thanks, Brendan. That's fantastic. For anybody who's not aware, and it's hard to believe in Sudbury that you're not aware of NORCAT, but fantastic organization, and Brendan's a great speaker for them. So Brendan, thank you. In 15 countries, that's amazing. Next up, we have José Ferran, Business Development Officer for Entrepreneurship for the City of Greater Sudbury, and the Coordinator for the Regional Business Center. On her free time, she enjoys going boating and exploring hiking trails with her family. Awesome place to be in Sudbury for that. José, here you go.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here to share information about how the Regional Business Center can support innovation and entrepreneurship in our community. So whether you are, I'm sorry, I can't move my presentation up. There you go. So whether you are just exploring the idea of entrepreneurship, exploring a potential business idea, looking to start up a business, if you have an existing one that you're looking for support in operating or support to expand a business, we are here to help you every step of the way. And some of the ways that we do that is through a variety of services, all of which are free. So guidance on licenses, permits, registrations. So quite often entrepreneurs are very skilled at their trade, good at what they do, and then they just need that additional guidance to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row and making sure they're doing everything legally related to the rules and regulations. Beyond that, we also have consultations. So if you want to sit down, chat with somebody about your business idea, market research, marketing ideas, just about anything, and book a consultation. They're typically 30 minutes to an hour long to discuss your idea with our business professionals. You can do that. I touched a little bit on market research. So we actually have access to IBIS World, which is an industry database. So it helps you understand big picture what's going on in your industry. We can provide summaries of those reports to help you truly understand your business idea and how to operate within that industry. Business planning support. So we won't write the business plan for clients, but we'll gladly take a look at yours free of charge, give you feedback, go back and forth as long as it takes to get your plan up to financing standards. And from there, we can also guide you to the appropriate funding and financing resources. Once we get to know what your business is about, what you're looking to spend your money on, your business, your background, etc., then we can refer you out to those agencies. We also have referrals to our professional services. So at the Regional Business Center, we are supported by our collaboration network, which is a mix of private and public sector organizations. That's everything from accountants, lawyers, marketing experts, bankers, etc. So we try to be that one-stop shop that can just point you in the right direction whenever you need any type of business support. And that also includes all of the organizations on the call here today within the innovation ecosystem. So if you come to us, we can then point you in the right direction as to which ones of these partners you should go to. Business registrations, and then we have all sorts of online webinars on a variety of topics. And then very quickly, I just want to talk on a couple of, or speak to a couple programs that we have. So Summer Company is a program that allows students to start a business during the summer. As long as they're returning to school in the fall, they have training, mentorship, and a grant of up to $3,000 to start their business. It's a really great program that allows young people to explore entrepreneurship in a really safe environment where they're supported by our staff and experts in the community. Starter Company Plus is very similar. However, it is for full-time businesses, people who are graduated and not students. And same thing, programming, mentorship, and a grant of up to $5,000 for that program. Both of those programs are currently accepting applications, and I'll actually drop a link to both of them in the chat after I'm done. And then lastly, I just want to plug in our business incubator. So this is a new project that we're going to be launching within the next 6 months. It's a physical incubation space where innovative companies will be able to set up shop, their office in our location, and then have access to programming, mentorship, and just a wide variety of resources to help them scale and grow their business. So keep an eye out for that. We're very excited about that project, and you should be seeing a little bit more about it in the media and on social media within the next few months. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jose. Always great to see the City of Greater Sudbury's involvement in the innovation space. Next up, we have Mike Comito, Director, Applied Research and Innovation. And as part of his role in overseeing applied research at Cambrian, Mike co-hosts the Unlikely Innovators, you guys have probably heard of it, a podcast with Steve Gravel, which highlights innovative people from the private and public sectors across Canada. Mike, here you go.
Thanks. So I'm not going to do a slide. I'm just going to talk for 3 minutes about Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining. So for those that are, some of you that are on the call are probably familiar with some of the services that we do at Cambrian. But for those companies, entrepreneurs, and students who aren't familiar with the work that we do, I'll just kind of run you through how Cambrian helps small businesses and helps student entrepreneurs at our campus and across our other post-secondaries in Sudbury. So right now at Cambrian, we're located in the Glencore Center for Innovation. We have 3 prototyping shops that range from 3D printing and advanced manufacturing to welding and fabrication. We also have an electronics prototyping shop. So again, what we focus on is companies that have an idea to solve a problem or a challenge within their operations or to bring a new product to market. They'll work with Cambrian, and we'll do this through applied research projects or fee-for-service activities. And what I mean by fee-for-service is that if you want something 3D printed or you need to get something fabricated, you can pay for those services directly to have a member of our staff or a faculty member and students work on that project for you. It's a great way to give the students an experiential learning opportunity, but it's also a great way for industry to access specialized equipment that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. The other thing I should mention, in addition to that, is that we also have what is known as the Center for Smart Mining, which is a specialized research hub funded by the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada. These are known as Technology Access Centers. Cambrian is the only TAC in Canada that has a focus on facilitating tech adoption in the mining industry. So all of the projects that we have that are mining focused typically fall under the Center for Smart Mining, which is managed by Steve Gravel, my podcast co-host. Again, I have to get the podcast plugged. That is key. So these services and offerings are available to anybody in the community, but also beyond Sudbury, again, because we have a national mandate through the TAC. We work with companies beyond the Sudbury catchment area as well. We have a full business development team that's available to facilitate these services. Again, they work with our companies to access funding, to pay for the use of the equipment, to pay for student time on the projects. I think it's important to note that all of our students are paid for the work that they do. And then also that covers the cost of using the equipment, cost of materials and whatnot. So again, if you have any questions, I think our entire team is here on this call. Otherwise, if you want more information on how you can get involved with Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining, you can go to our website at www.cambriancollege.ca/rd. You can also find Cambrian R&D across all major social media platforms. And of course, please subscribe to the Unlikely Innovators on Apple or Spotify, wherever you like to get podcasts. And that is exactly... Well, it's not exactly 3 minutes, but it's pretty darn close. So I'm good. Thank you very much. I'll be around if you have any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Great to see all 3 post-secondary education institutions being here today. So next up, we have Robin Craig, Director of Research and Innovation at Boreal at Collège Boreal. When Robin was a teenager, she worked for the Toronto Blue Jays. Didn't know that as game staff. She would also run into famous baseball players and can confirm that Jose Canseco is indeed a colossus. We were all wondering. Here you go, Robin.
Thanks very much, Josie. I thought we were meant to say something funny and quirky, so that was my little funny, quirky piece of Robin trivia. Bonjour, hello, my name is Robin Craig. I am the inaugural Director of Recherche et Innovation Boreal, a bilingual multidisciplinary research services hub based in Sudbury, but serving all of the college's 7 campuses and 38 sites in 26 Ontario communities. Guided by Boreal's strategic pillars of quality, accessibility, and visibility, our team believes that inclusive innovation should and can solve world problems, as well as build resilient, sustainable, and prosperous communities. Since launching in 2019, Recherche et Innovation Boreal has secured approximately $2 million in sponsored research funding, established over 40 new partnerships, and provided over 60 meaningful paid training opportunities for students and highly qualified personnel. Our services at Boreal are firmly anchored within the academic framework of the college. This means that many of our projects are led by college professors and students, many of whom are industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and the future talent of our workforce. Indeed, research outcomes and feedback from our various partnerships make up a powerful feedback loop that helps us to adapt and enhance our academic programming and curriculum so that it responds to the most pressing of industry needs. Relatedly, this September, Collège Boreal will be launching an academic program in social entrepreneurship, and in 2023, we'll be opening an innovation business incubator as part of our new Toronto campus located in the Distillery District. In fact, when reflecting on the theme of today's event and of our own journey as an enabler of innovation and entrepreneurship here in Sudbury, I realized that Recherche et Innovation Boreal shares many of the same characteristics and features that define startups and many early career entrepreneurs or early stage entrepreneurs. We are young and flexible with lots of potential for growth. We have an appetite for exploration and risk-taking. We're currently experimenting with different business models as we establish our niche within the innovation ecosystem. And we are hardcore hustlers in our quest to secure important financial and human resources. So what services do we provide to startups and entrepreneurs? We do prototype development and proof of concept, market surveys, scans, supports for facilitating focus groups, as well as data analysis and reporting. We provide access to research space equipment and materials, including our Glencore Applied Center for Biodiversity and our Innovation Greenhouse. We provide access to experts and highly qualified personnel. We provide guidance and expertise in the development of funding proposals, procurement, financial and administrative management of funding, as well as guidance and expertise in issues related to compliance, research ethics, and best practices in research data management and equity, diversity, and inclusion in research. Finally, we also provide services related to science communication and knowledge mobilization. And of course, we are part of this wonderful broad network of funders and ecosystem partners. If you're interested in learning more about our services or seeing some examples of our project, I'd like to refer you to our website. I'm going to, we were working on it this morning and we were having a little bit of problems at getting the site up and running, but as soon as it is, I'm going to drop the link here for all of you to see, and I'm very happy to take any questions today or at another time. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thanks, Robin. And so Jose Canseco hit a lot of home runs, right? And hopefully you guys are doing the same. So that's fantastic. Next up, Heather Dufour, the last of the three post-secondary institutions, Innovation and Commercialization Coordinator at Laurentian University. She enjoys reading and watching movies with her family. That was a tongue twister. Here you go, Heather.
Oh, sorry, just give me 1 second. My screen's not cooperating at the moment. Why is it not? Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry. 1 moment. Oh my goodness me. Okay.
Even if it's not in full screen, it should be fine.
Yeah, because it's not letting me like keep it in
Okay.
full screen. I don't know why it's doing this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry, it's just being difficult. So I'm just going to talk for today. So thank you, Josie, for the opportunity to share what Laurentian University has to offer. So Laurentian promotes the culture of entrepreneurship through various means. We offer opportunities to engage, ideate, create, and grow your business venture. The Foundry is a recent initiative at Laurentian University that fosters innovation and commercialization through programming and resources offered out of the Jim Fielding Innovation and Commercialization space. Workshops, crash courses, and guest speakers are tailored towards starting and growing businesses and provide a great opportunity for knowledge transfer. Office hours bring experts in our community to the university and provide opportunities for networking and collaboration. Our makerspace is equipped with 3D printers, a laser cutter, a CNC milling machine, and a wide range of general construction tools to build small-scale prototypes. Laurentian has a diverse range of research interests housed within our 4 faculties: science, engineering, and architecture, health and education, management, and the arts. We excel in key areas that affect the North, including engineering, computer science, health and safety, and remediation. We can provide introductions to our faculty based on the expertise you need, and assist in creating partnerships to support and grow your business and leverage the funds that you invest into finding solutions and creating innovations. We also offer opportunities to work with students on projects that solve company problems like capstone projects and MyTax internships. Intellectual property is a question that frequently arises for research partnerships, and there are many misconceptions. We would be happy to further discuss the implications of IP ownership when working together on research projects, but rest assured that any IP you bring to the project remains your property, and you would own any IP that you or your employees create. Laurentian is inventor-owned, which means that faculty own the IP they create, but frequently rights to new IP can be negotiated from the outset of partnership. At a minimum, we ensure that ownership and rights are clearly defined. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys keep that intellectual property in Sudbury and in the hands of the innovators. That's super sweet. Next up, we have Paul Podstaka, Initiatives Officer and avid motorcyclist. I had no idea until Giselle mentioned that last week, Paul, who has traveled all over Canada and the US. Paul, you're up.
Giselle, can you launch my page, please? And while she's doing that, I sent Giselle actually identified that as my quirky feature, but what I wanted to convey to the audience here, and I think most of them would be interested in business and innovation, is that I'm a fourth generation Northern Ontario business owner, which is pretty unique. So happens that my office downtown Sudbury is located where my great grandfather had a shop on Elm Street, and I found that in a business directory from 1930. So that's my quirkiness. I have a great deal of empathy for people that are interested in starting businesses. I assume that of the 58 people on the line today, there are some. It's exciting and challenging. So love to talk to you about your business ideas as we go forward. What I wanted to do was give you a quick overview of our programming and see if anything twigs with the people that are interested in conducting innovation or starting a business, and ask that you get in touch with us so we can get into a little more detail. So FedNor has been around since 1986. Contrary to popular belief, I was not around in 1986, but shortly thereafter. Started out in 98 when we introduced our innovation priority. And I traveled all of Northern Ontario. It was actually not Mike, but Brendan. I was located at NORCAT for a couple of years. We worked on the starting up of SEMI. Morocco had just started as well. Very exciting days. There were no regional innovation centers other than NORCAT across the north. So pretty interesting days. Big fan of innovation. So our mandate is economic development for Northern Ontario. The programs have evolved over the years, depending on the priorities. Right now, COVID is a priority. And I'll go over the programs and then I'll talk with our community partners, but most of them have spoken, so I'm going to be very light on that. Our programs start off with a business scale up and productivity. There are three components to it. In terms of the R&D spectrum, we are really focused now on technology demonstration, adoption and adaption, so acquiring new types of technology. Can also support commercialization efforts, market development, market expansion. And we can also, kind of unique, work with business management, helping to build teams, train teams, increase capacity, and adopt best management practices. The Targeted Manufacturing Initiative is really about manufacturing businesses that are improving their productivity and in so doing, improving their competitiveness and, of course, growing the economy. And I've always had that sort of lens when I talk to people, is that you just tell me how your business is going to grow and I'll know how the economy is going to improve as a result. You don't have to try and justify the economic development. Tell me about how your business is going to improve. The next one is COVID, and we've been extremely busy, as you can imagine, for the past 18 months delivering a program called RRF. And it really was providing financial relief for liquidity and a little bit on recovery. Our current programs have evolved now to be aimed at the initial ones were mainly any type of business for the most part, but the current programs are now aimed at tourism, which we all understand has been really affected by COVID, and the aerospace industry. The most recent new program we have is called Jobs and Growth Program, and it's more aimed at recovery from COVID than the relief. So it provides funding to businesses and organizations as well, so not-for-profits, to help create jobs and position local economies for long-term growth. It's on the innovation side, it allows us to get involved a little more on the R&D spectrum towards the development side than with the BSIP program. It has 4 components. Supports the transition to this is jobs and growth. Sorry, supports the transition to a green economy. These are higher level priorities. Focused on underrepresented groups such as Indigenous people, members of racialized communities, youth, women, LGBTQ2, persons with disabilities, newcomers to Canada and Northern Ontario, and official languages minority communities. Also looks at preserving Canada's competitiveness and future-proofing SMEs through digital adoption, such as Industry 4.0, and aims at helping businesses grow and enhance their capabilities and their resilience. And the last component to jobs and growth is strengthen capacity in sectors critical to Canada's recovery and growth, supports activities related to scale up and market expansion, supply chain adaptation and diversification, and to build capacity in critical sectors. And they're talking about things like food, biosciences. In my personal opinion, the mining sector is critical as well. Last thing that I want to say, an overview for all our programs, is that they are repayable, they are interest-free, we do not take security, and repayment terms are up to 10 years, and they're based on a reasonableness. Another thing that we do a ton of, and it's quite interesting to hear some of the presenters already, is work with community partners. Obviously, we heard NORCAT speak. We've worked with regional innovation centers across the north, like literally for 20 some years. I'm not sure if Nickel Basin is speaking today, but there are community futures programs in Sudbury. It's Nickel Basin. Brendan mentioned the Sudbury Catalyst Fund, which is something FEDNR supported, as well as the city. And if you're looking for early stage seed funding, that's the place to go. We work with, I'm not sure if SEMI's presenting today. We've been working with them. You'd be aware they're launching their MICA program, which has $40 million. It's a national program, but to encourage commercialization of mining technologies. Northern Ontario Exports Program, I know Scott's attending, I'm not sure if he's speaking. Work with the Regional Business Center for many years, and we believe very strongly in these partnerships. We've worked on them for a very long time, and we're able to put funding typically in their hands that they're able to deliver in a different fashion than we can, and you can read into that non-repayable. And that's it. There's a couple other programs that or relationships that we have that I won't bother mentioning. I doubt they're here today, but that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's not really surprising given the fact of COVID that we haven't connected. But there's a few people on here today that we haven't seen in a while. Paul, it's great to see you. Next up is Pierre, who I haven't seen either pre-COVID. So Northern Development Advisor with the Ontario Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry. Pierre considers himself an avid cycling commuter. And since joining the ministry in 2001, he has commuted to work or bicycle and occasionally on foot through the Rotary Park Trail, linking Adanac Ski Hill to downtown Sudbury. Super nice trail if anybody has not taken it previously. And even before the trail was formally completed. Here you go, Pierre.
Thank you, Josie. And yeah, I threw in that piece about even before the trail was formally there. I still kind of cut across the back, I guess I'll call it, to get downtown to our office here, and would actually use the rail line, right? Because there's less snow and a little bit flatter land and that kind of thing. But yeah, the reason I bring it up as a cycling commuter is that's really the only intent, is to get to and from work. I do some cycling as well, but that's really the main focus. So yeah, that's my interesting bit of information, I guess. What I'd like to present to you guys today is the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund. And most of you are probably familiar with that program. And I'm not sure if I'm sharing the right screen here. Do you guys see the 4 programs? Giselle? No. Stop. Sorry. Try that again.
We could see it, but not the full screen.
Okay. Do full screen on that one because it makes it bigger for me as well.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Okay. So sorry about that. So the NOHFC, the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, has 4 main areas where they provide their support, and they're targeting different groups. If you want to call them that. There's business support, community enhancement. There's also workforce development and cultural support. And under those 4 different programs, they actually have multiple different funding streams. They talk about 8 here. I'm going to call them 8 areas. Because some of them actually have multiple funding streams under each of them. So I'm going to list them off. And obviously for today's audience, I'm going to focus in on the innovation aspect that you see under number 1 here. So to start off, their Invest North program is one of the main areas. And under that program, they have 2 key areas of interest, I guess I'll call them. Innovation being one and investment being the second. Then the second program you see listed here is the People and Talent program. And that one's very much dedicated to supporting wages for individuals that you might be bringing into your company. And there's 2 different areas you can see here identified, the Indigenous Workforce Development Program stream, and then there's also the Workforce Development stream. Third one, Community Enhancement Program, looking at supporting communities, organizations, not-for-profits with a few different things, rural enhancement or enhancing your community, and specifically there, the broadband and cellular component. Again, not going to spend much time on those in particular today, but the website is listed down here at the bottom for anybody who wants more information. Certainly consult that NHSC.ca website, and you'll get a lot of information, including funding levels and including lists of what is and is not eligible. Most of the time, let me summarize it this way. Operating costs under most of these programs are not eligible, but equipment, buildings, improvements, those types of things typically come into play. So the last one I'm going to talk about just real quick is a cultural sports program. And under this one, they have community events, which is specifically dedicated to actual events taking place, both in a virtual and a face-to-face format. Obviously, the face-to-face isn't happening quite as much nowadays, and then the last component there is the film and television production area of responsibility. So in terms of the innovation program, I'm going to read something off the website, which is very relevant and hopefully makes some sense to you guys as an audience. The innovation stream supports the research, development, and commercialization of new and innovative technologies for Northern Ontario. NOHFC has actually developed a definition for innovation, and it is actually on their website, so the NOHFC.ca, and I'll just read it for you. NOHFC considers innovative technology projects based on the following definition: the development or implementation of ideas, produce new or improved strategies, capabilities, products, services, or processes with a strong focus on ensuring to satisfy our market need or desire. So it has to be new. And I'm going to add my own opinion here to the end of that statement, which says ensuring to satisfy a market need or desire is going to be fairly key. So when you're submitting an application, you may think that it's innovative and very well needed. But if it's not going to satisfy a need of the market or a desire in the market, it may be difficult to get that innovation definition to be applied to your project. These are all things we can help with. I've got my email address on the screen now. There's also an 800 number. I would say start with my email address, and that'll be the easiest way to get a hold of me. That telephone number is actually something that's designed for all of Ontario, and they will actually put you in contact with somebody in your area. So I would suspect that most of you are in the Sudbury area, so we should be fine with this starting off with an email address. In terms of the funding levels, I'm not going to go through them all because they're entirely different based on which program you're applying to. But suffice to say, most of the programs will have a 50% cap, 50% of eligible cost categories, and it is in the form of a repayable contribution, could be a conditional contribution or repayable, but all of it is based on costs incurred, which means you need to have access to funding up front or access to financing up front in order to pay for those costs and then request a reimbursement. Again, getting into more detail than we need to today, but certainly open to having a further discussion with anybody who might be interested. So I'll leave it there. It's off the website. Feel free to send me an email, and we can get the discussion going from there. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Pierre. And so we've heard of the city, we've heard from the feds with Paul. Pierre is one of the two legs with the province. Next up, we have Kyle. And so Kyle McCall is Business Development Commercialization Manager. He's particularly interested in how technology can solve problems around sustainability and move us towards a circular economy. And Kyle's been in the innovation sphere for many, many years. Kyle, welcome.
Oh, there we go. I can unmute myself. That's great.
Sorry, Kyle, I didn't see you. I just realized after you were KM.
It's all good. So appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone here today. Josie, thanks for the introduction. So as Josie mentioned, I am with OCI, formerly OCE, Ontario Centre of Excellence. Here to chat real quickly about a couple of the programs that we have to offer to startups and other companies that might be on the call today. So as a pan-provincial organization, we're really here to support the development and commercialization of innovations that are taking place at the academic or the post-secondary institutions. So the program I'm going to spend the most time chatting about is our Voucher for Innovation and Productivity. And this is a program that actually allows companies or startups to take advantage of the varying expertise available to them at the post-secondary institutions across Ontario. So as a Northern Ontario company, you can actually access the expertise available to you, the expertise available at any university, any college across Ontario. And luckily for us, we have some really fantastic ones right here in our backyard. And I'm quite happy to say that we have a number of projects actually moving through those institutions currently. So very exciting to see that. That program in itself is a one-to-one matching program. So for every dollar you put in, OCI will put in up to $150,000. So it is rather substantial, and project can last about can go up to 24 months. And really, what the idea behind this program is to help you take your innovation to the next level, and or help you improve your product or get it ready for a new market or different opportunities that you might have in front of you as a company. So really, it's there to support prototyping, development, analysis, any number of things really fall under that category of the Voucher for Innovation and Productivity. It's our bread and butter program. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for it's been around for I think a decade now, and will probably be around for another decade afterwards. Again, a fantastic program if you're looking to make your research and development dollars go a little bit farther. So sometimes when I'm talking with companies, they have a very limited budget, particularly in the COVID world that we're working in. But if you have a $50,000 budget for R&D, I can probably help you turn it into about a $100,000 budget for R&D. And the bonus is you get to take advantage of that expertise available to you at the academic institutions. One other program that's worth mentioning here as well that kind of dovetails with the Catalyst Fund and some of the other angel investment funds that have been mentioned already this morning is our Market Readiness Program. So this is a little different. It's calling it a program is a bit of a misnomer. It is actually an investment fund. So unlike a repayable loan or a grant, it is actually an investment. So we will take equity in the company as part of our investment in it. There are two streams. There's a $125,000 stream and a $250,000 stream. The eligibility is fairly tight on this, though, to separate ourselves from kind of other angel investors and VCs in the marketplace. The companies that we are investing in have to be under 5 years old, have raised less than $1 million, and either be built on IP that was generated at an academic institution, or the startup itself is coming out of a campus-linked accelerator or a campus-connected incubator of some kind. So for the folks that might be on the line here that are going through the Foundry, you could actually be eligible for our market readiness program. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a great matching program, and obviously is a great boost to any fundraising efforts that you have in place. Again, though, it is a one-to-one matching program, and like the Sudbury Catalyst Fund, it requires that matching private sector investment in the company. And usually, actually, a one-to-one leverage is not enough. We are looking to participate in rounds between $500,000 and $3 million. So it's a little bit beyond the friends and family stage, a little beyond kind of your first pre-seed money, and is there to get you closer to your Series A. And if you're interested in learning more, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Or one of our speakers today, Vineet Johnson, is actually a recipient of that market readiness. And I'm sure he can talk to you a little bit about what that experience is. And just remember to be nice, Vineet. That's it for me. I'll put the website in the chat here. I hate to boast, but I think it does a fairly good job of outlining the eligibility requirements and all that other good stuff. And you can download program guidelines as well as eligible expenses and some other documentation that you need to know about the program. So I'll just leave it there, let you do your own perusing, and feel free to connect with me offline or afterwards should you have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. Next up, we have Adam Braceland. Now, as I see, Adam, your title, it says NRC IRAP. I had no idea IRAP was here today. So another part of the federal infrastructure. Great to have you on board. All I see here, though, is Industrial Technology Advisor. So maybe you can introduce us. One of the great things about what's happening today is that we get introduced to people that we may not have had contact with previously. And so, Adam, looking forward to having you.
Well, thank you very much for organizing this, everyone. Thank you to everyone that is taking the time to be here today. It is greatly appreciated. My colleague is on the line with us, Mike Duffy. And between myself and Mike Duffy, we are the two industrial technology advisors with the Industrial Research Assistance Program of the National Research Council. There's a mouthful for you. That cover the greater Sudbury area and more. I do have a short slide that I'm going to do my absolute best to share with everybody here in the meeting, but I'm not going to go through the slide. What I would really like to emphasize is the networking opportunity that this has created. So thank you to the organizers and everyone who's here again. Please reach out to myself or Mike or to the National Research Council's website. And on the website, there's a generic phone number. Whatever means you are willing to reach out to IRAP, please do so. It's important for us to meet every possible company we can and all of the funding partners in our ecosystem. IRAP is looking to try and grow incorporated for-profit companies. We're trying to help these companies grow through innovation. So a new product, a new process, both development of what you're doing already, any sort of growth through innovation. That is what we're here to try and do with incorporated companies. We try and do this through advisory services. We try and do this through networking. And of course, we do have funded programs. We have multiple funded programs, too much to get into in 3 minutes. These funded programs are contribution. Basically, we help cover a portion of your technical employees or technical contractor fees. And again, please reach out to us. We want to talk to every company we can. Mike and I are here to help in any way possible. I'll have these slides shared with everyone, and I'm looking forward to questions and generating some conversations. So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Think of IRAP. Thank you for letting us be here.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And any presenter, if you don't mind dropping your contact details in the chat, that would be fantastic. That does help everybody to reach you. Next up, we have Mo Aladdin. Mo, I'm hoping that I say that properly for you, my friend. The Senior Account Manager, Financing and Consulting, and he's an avid traveler. Mo, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Josie. So, like Josie said, I'm with the Business Development Bank of Canada. So, surface level, we do operate just like a normal bank. in terms of lending money and venture capital and advisory services. But what makes us a little bit different is that we are a subsidiary of the government, meaning that although we don't follow government regulations, or I can't really call myself a government agent, we are funded. Our sole shareholder is the government of Canada. But so with that being said, what makes us a little bit different is that we are the patient, we are the flexible, and we're the non-demand lender, because the government doesn't want to see businesses, fall into the trap of traditional asset-based lending, where they're going to seize all your collateral and kind of take over your business. So that's kind of where BDC steps in. Is we could be the complementary lender. We can partner with other lenders. We do so very, very often. We partner with community groups all the time, including Nickel Basin and NOHFC. But on its own, what we like to offer is, the longer repayment period. So we would like to be a little bit more flexible. We do take higher risk for sure. So we might be the only bank in town that will touch startups. And then our terms and conditions, like I said, we're non-demand lender, so they're never going to change. We don't look at personal assets at all. It's strictly business. And we're always going to be subordinated to any of the chartered banks or any of your primary lenders as well. So I'm just going to share my screen just to give you a little bit of a visual. But essentially, BDC is broken down into 3 buckets. So where I stand is between the financing and the advisory. So any business that approaches me for any of their traditional financing needs, if it's, to purchase a building, working capital, if it's equipment, if you're looking to buy another business, I can do all of that and under the parameters that I just outlined. So the longer repayment, the higher risk tolerance, we do more money, right? 100% financing. And then on top of that, what we like to offer as well as our advisory services. So, how do I, a lot of the time we get the question, how do I grow? How do I grow profitably? How do I grow efficiently? So on and so forth. So BDC is actually one of the biggest advisory firms in Canada with our suite of consultants. And we offer really anything from, operational efficiency, financial management. We can do strategic planning. We put together succession plans, and we've done so successfully for a lot of large companies in town. And same thing for small companies as well, right? Taking them from point A to point B. How do we get there? How do we get you there faster, right? So that's what our advisory does. A little bit more of the special category here is our BDC Capital team. So this is where we get a little bit more creative. So we have a whole team that's dedicated to, number one, growth and transition. So if you're a high scale company that's looking for millions of dollars in either an investment or some sort of loan structure that you can't get anywhere, that's where BDC steps in. And our growth and transition team helps you put together, whether it's mezzanine financing, it's just strictly cash flow, or we can do quasi equity as well. And that ranges anywhere from 250,000 to up to 35 million, right? We really it really depends on what makes sense for the business and what you need to grow, as long as we can probably demonstrate that. And again, we can get fairly creative, whether we want to take a chunk of equity or just leave it as debt, or even do royalty structure as well. And then lastly here we have our venture capital team. So BDC also does do VC funding. So and this is anywhere in terms of high scale healthcare startups to industrial companies that are looking to do innovative growth in their industry. So typically we like to get we like to get involved in pre-series rounds where there's multiple investors at the table, and what we'll do is we'll actually pioneer that series, and we'll get multiple lenders or multiple investment firms on, and then BDC will come and subordinate against all those lenders or investors. We go from seed to an expansion. Our investment period is from 7 to 10, and again, we will invest in the high risk businesses. That's what we like to do. That's our specialty. And we want to make sure that we're there to support the businesses that, traditionally can't get their, the regular bank financing, right? We want to be there for, not necessarily the lender of last resort, but we do want to be there to support maybe some of the more creative businesses that aren't catching some of the bank's eyes. So that's where I'll leave it. and I'll just throw my contact info in the chat. I can be your main point of contact and connect you to anybody in BDC who's in venture capital, growth, and transition. And then, like I said, I'll take care of anything, traditional financing and advisory. So thanks for your time, guys.
That's great. Thanks, Mo. Okay, so we've had 10 financing partner experts join us today. We got 5 minutes for any questions, and so we'll open it up. If you have any questions, please drop your comments inside of the chat. Mike, if you don't mind, Mr. Camito, helping me out, if there's anything, if you could read them off, and we'll leave that for the next 5 minutes. Next, we've got 3 presenters. The bulk of this sits on our next 3 presenters, and so let's see what we have for questions right now. Sometimes it takes a little longer to write out a question if you do have any questions. And so
I think we've got Benit that was looking to make a quick comment, and if there's no questions, we can, move on to the next stage, and then, there will be more time for Q&A at the end as well.
That's fair, and I think Benit, you can unmute yourself. So.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to give a big shout out to every single presenter so far. I've worked with every one of them, and it has been a spectacular experience. I start with, Steve Graval, Kyle, Adam, Brendan, Fednar. Every one of them have been a spectacular presence in Sudbury, who's been helping us to get to where we are today. And I've also been engaged with the 3 institutions, the academic institutions, and I want to shout out to all 3 for their amazing work as well. I'm mainly pointing this out to anyone who's contemplating a startup or in the process in early stage to really take down each of their contact information and start engaging with them, understand what they do, because it is these folks who are going to help you all the way, and they're going to be there every step of your way. Like Kyle pointed out, we are part of the MR3 program right now. And like Adam was talking about a number of programs, we are part of that. NOHFC was talking about programs, we are part of that. FedNor was talking about programs, we are part of that. And same thing with NORCAT. Each and every one of them can provide all kinds of advice that is ideal and very important for a startup. Not just the funding. The funding is key, but in addition to funding, they provide so much more. I just want to highlight that point. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Vineet. I think Gus pretty much echoes the same thing too. I learned a lot this morning, and thank you all for all the information to all the presenters. And so there was a lot of good information shared with anybody. I recognize that we don't maybe have any questions, but it is nice for you to have their contact information. If you have any specific questions, please go back to them. Avail yourself of resources. It's critical in your growth. All right. So shifting into next year, next we have Alicia Woods who's up, and I'm going to read the introduction. Alicia Woods, with more than 20 years experience in the mining industry, Alicia understands what it means to push boundaries. Alicia is the founder and CEO of CoverGals Workwear, an independent consultant and speaker. She's a strong advocate and encouraging more young women to consider a career in the industry. Part of this means creating an environment that acknowledges, accommodates, and celebrates gender-specific differences. Motivated to improve the underground mining experience for women, Alicia designed the CoverGal, female coverall, for women, and then successfully pitched her business on CBC's TV show Dragon's Den, which is like Shark Tank in the US. The CoverGals workwear line has since grown and has evolved to be so much more than a workwear company. CoverGals now exists to conquer 3 main pillars: health and safety, diversity and inclusion, and education and advocacy. Alicia has appeared at speaking engagements across North America and is focused on motivating and educating her audience and works to inspire, encourage, and equip the women breaking barriers. She challenges companies to be part of the change by working towards increasing diversity and creating inclusive work environments. Alicia is the recipient of YWCA Women of Distinction Award, the 40 Under 40, and was named Class of 27 Young Global Leaders by the World Economic Forum, and most recently was recognized as one of the top 100 global inspirational women in mining. Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you for having me today, Josie. Definitely honored to be a part of all these speakers today, and happy to be here to share my story of becoming an entrepreneur here in the Sudbury Basin, and talk about the ups and the downs and everything in between. So I'll share my going to share my screen here, and okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So as I mentioned, I'm here to share my story of becoming an entrepreneur here in the Sudbury Basin. And I think, it goes without saying, if you live here in Sudbury, mining is all around you. And for me, I feel like, I grew up mining. And I say that because my father, my grandfather, my uncles and aunt were all involved in the mining industry. And, growing up, I would spend my weekends with my father in the shop. They manufactured underground mobile equipment and, would explore and, one day really envision myself being in the mining industry. And, reflecting back, I was never made to, feel that the mining industry was not a place for me. Everybody made me feel welcome. And so, as I went through college and had to find a career, I actually found myself back in mining at Markop Mining. And so now, women in mining at that time, there was no other women doing the job that I, was doing, very few of us. And I was told, Kate, you're going underground. And I remember that day going to the local safety supply store to get all of my gear. And to my surprise, there was absolutely nothing for women. So I bought the smallest that I could find, having to, roll my coveralls up, stuff my work boots with a pair of wool socks, and just kind of, make it work. Obviously big and baggy, didn't fit me properly, but it wasn't until I got underground, and it was actually a Valley Stobie mine that day, that I realized there was a much bigger issue with wearing men's workwear. And I say, was this the inspiration that, led me to become an entrepreneur? Or was it frustration? And I think you can say it was frustration. I remember saying to my male colleague, if I have to go to the washroom today, like, where do I go? And, they all laughed and pointed to the end of the drift. And I remember looking, at my gear and just thinking, I have to take everything off to go to the washroom. And so I knew that was not going to happen that day. So I remember getting back to surface, doing a quick Google search to see, like, there's got to be something better. And all I could find were women's gardening coveralls, which, certainly weren't going to meet the needs in an industrial setting. So for the next 10 years, I just avoided drinking anything before going underground because I just simply refused to have to take everything off. And that was until the summer of 2011. I found myself in a potash mine in Saskatchewan, extremely dry and dusty. My male colleagues failed to tell me that we were going to be running under the conveyor belt that day. So just, covered in potash head to toe, and without realizing it, consumed 3 bottles of water. All excited, back to the cage, ready to go to surface. And unfortunately, cage tender said, sorry, we're going to be down for maintenance. It's going to be a few hours. And it was at that moment I thought, wow, I've avoided this for a decade. I now have to face using a porta potty. So I was brought to one, unfortunately, no door. So stepped in, turned my light off, took everything off. And it was an absolute nightmare. And for me, I remember walking back to the station, sitting on the bench and saying, I will never wear your coveralls again. And that's really, where the Cover Gal was born, and what really led me to starting to explore the idea of creating a product. And I think if there's anything that I can share, I think, number one is, step one, find your tribe. reach out, ask, inquire, create partnerships and collaborations. And, like Vignette said earlier, I've had the opportunity to work with all of these great organizations and companies too. And they have really, really helped me in the beginning, because you have an idea, but what do you do with that idea? Like where to start? And here in Sudbury, we're blessed to have so many different organizations that are there to support you. And there's so many more now that I wish I would have had in the past. But, some examples are, NORCAT, working with them to, donate workwear for their Facunas facility, working with Adam around IRAP and funding for business development, partnering with BDC and Desjardins, Cambrian College, utilizing their internship programs. We've have built some great employees by, working with Cambrian College and their business students and their marketing too. And then also Center for Excellence Mining Innovation. They introduced us to 3M. And, after that introduction, 3M became such a strong partner for us that we now have the opportunity to visit their innovation center before COVID on a yearly basis. And we really rely on their support and their expertise and knowledge. So step one is, build that support system around you, engage with these organizations. And with respect to mining companies and our product, we needed a company that was going to help us test and trial our workwear. The coverall is part of personal protective equipment. It has safety and health regulations that need to be met. And this was all new to us. So we worked with Valet to test and trial our garments. And then their health and safety committee, gave us the green light. And, I think every entrepreneur kind of has that tipping point. At what point is your product or service, like now you can go to market with it, right? You've built that support system, you've built either the prototype or you've tested and trialed it. And now you have a client who is investing in you in terms of, giving you an order. And that was Valet. And Voisey's Bay ordered 50 pairs of cover gals, which was super exciting. And around that time, is when, Dragon's Den commercial came on. And we thought maybe that was the opportunity to actually launch our product and introduce it to the market. So, we took advantage of that opportunity. We were very, fortunate to be featured in the season premiere, and we gained a lot of, attention from that pitch. And it really kind of opened doors to other industries, not just mining, but construction, oil and gas, trades, industries that the garment was so applicable in, but we had never, thought about them because we were born in mining. And so that really kind of launched us. And from there, we realized that there were some other challenges that we were going to have to face. You've got a product, but you now have to manufacture it, right? We had made the first 50 pairs, but if we really wanted to grow, we needed production. We need to expand our product line. A company, needs additional products, not just one single SKU, in order to see that growth. And so we really struggled with finding a manufacturer here in Canada. Shockingly, it took a year to find one. Every time we said it was female workwear, the phones, they wouldn't answer the phones, they wouldn't return emails. And it took one company in Quebec that said, we will take this chance and produce this for you. So that was number one challenge right off the hop, a year trying to find someone. And again, I think had we not been, we weren't afraid to reach out and ask. I reached out to the Trade Commissioner Service, Trade Commissioner on Apparel, Global Affairs Canada. I said, we have this great product. We want it to be produced here in Canada, but we can't find a partner. So, they helped us along the way, because we did unfortunately create relationships with manufacturers here in Canada that fell through on their promises. And as a result, made it very difficult for us and our clients. So definitely a lot of bumps in the road. And I think that's where, that network and that system you have around you will come in to help you and support you. Then, everybody, we were hit with COVID. And I think, being an entrepreneur in a small business, you really need to be flexible, think outside the box, and pivot. And, for us, a lot of our business started to slow down because we had a lot of on-site fittings and, we couldn't do those. And I remember connecting with Mark Saray, our local MP here in the Sudbury Basin, and he shared with me kind of, frustration and disappointment around access to PPE for long-term, healthcare, for the long-term healthcare homes, the workers. So not only was it hard to access PPE, but the pricing of the PPE had, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and just couldn't understand that. So I remember having numerous conversations with Mark saying, well, how can Cover Gals help? And so that's where we actually started to produce fabric, washable face masks. We started engaging with local seamstresses who, were without work because of COVID. And so we gave them employment. We started to produce masks. And then also we started to take some of that profit and then, give it back to the long-term healthcare homes so that they could actually procure the PPE that they need. And I think during that time is when we realized the importance of supporting local community, and I think as organizations and companies, we all need to do our part in supporting each other, whether it's procuring goods or services from companies here in the area. Sometimes it's, a little heartbreaking when you find out that, people are purchasing workwear from overseas because they want to save a few dollars when, they can keep the production here in country, here in the community and, support employees, contribute to the economic growth. So I think COVID has made us realize that, that is very important. And, we did our part by, teaming up with organizations like Crosscut Distillery. So we did a bit of a barter, we produced that mask for them so their employees could stay protected. And then in return, they provided us with sanitizer. So we did a couple of initiatives like that, which was super fun. And it's definitely something that we're going to continue to do moving forward. So I think if I can, end these slides with a few pieces of advice and things that I've learned along the way, because I have definitely learned a lot. It's been, a journey filled with ups and downs, but most part, it's been very rewarding and it outweighs the challenges that I've definitely faced. So advice I'd give is, never use fear of failure as a reason not to do something. I think timing is important. When I first realized the issue with the men's, workwear, I thought about doing something, but then I held off. And I think I'm happy that I picked that back up 10 years later, because you'll always wonder, should I, what would have been? So, just go with it, trust your gut, learn to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I definitely believe, at the end of the day, you've got two choices, and you've got the choice to build someone else's dream, or you have the choice to build your own. And I've realized that, I want to build my own dream. And about 2 years ago, I actually left my full-time career to take on Cover Gals full-time. And what that made me realize is that you will never see the true potential of your, idea, your product or service if you don't give it 110%. So, happy that I made that jump. It's of course a little bit scary, but it is definitely worthwhile. Thank you.
Well, Alicia, what a great story. And we're blessed today to have 3 local wonderful stories. And we'll get into Q&As a little later on. I see Kyle with the hands. Congratulations. That is fantastic. And so we'll get into Q&As for about 30 minutes afterwards. So if you have any questions for Alicia and her success, please hold on to that, and you will get an opportunity. Next up, we have Vineet Johnson. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Vineet Johnson completed his BSc in physiotherapy at Christian Medical College in India and obtained a graduate diploma in physiotherapy from Queen Margaret University, Scotland, UK. He then went on to complete a master's degree in neuroscience at Simon Fraser University in Canada, and followed by his, his doctoral program, at McGill University, Canada. He has worked as a teacher and a researcher on 3 continents. Very interesting. And his research interests largely focused on exploring neuromuscular recovery strategies in individuals post-stroke. The primary goal of his most recent research was to explore the use of goal-driven exercise strategies and to study the mechanisms that mediate neuroplastic changes in the human brain. No small feat for sure. Vineet, you're up.
It seems so much like what my mom would say about me. Thank you so much. Alicia, that was a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's the first time I got a chance to hear. Great work. So let me briefly introduce iRegain, because I'm not sure if everyone here knows what we do. So I'm going to go through a quick 5 or 6 slides, giving an introduction about what we do, and then going to a little spiel about what my experience was being in Sudbury over the last 3 years. So my name is Vineet Johnson, founder and CEO of iRegain. I'm a physical therapist and a neuroscientist by training. When someone gets a stroke, a part of the brain is damaged, and as a result, their hand function is compromised. There's nothing wrong with the hand itself, but the connection from the brain to the hand is lost. And we at iRegain look at ways to improve the hand function by creating new pathways around the damaged area of the brain through advanced engineering, advanced technology, and deep neuroscience research. This is a pretty massive problem. In Canada, about 65,000 people get a stroke each year, and Sudbury and Thunder Bay are some of the cities in Canada which has more number of strokes than other parts of Canada. In the US, about 800,000 people get a stroke each year. And it costs the government about $4 billion each year. Unfortunately, 70% of these individuals cannot use their hands for anything. And as a result, it's a huge, huge problem for them. And there is no effective intervention for them. 30 years ago, as an undergrad student in a country that was very underdeveloped back in India, there was no solution. Today, I live in a pretty advanced country, a G7 country, and we still do not have solutions. And that's what we wanted to change. So when you look at this woman here, she's trying to grab a glass of water, something that we all take for granted, a mundane task at best. But it poses a Herculean challenge for her. Not only does she have direct impact on her life, but it also has indirect impact on the society she lives in, on the provincial healthcare system, the caregivers, the PSWs, and so on and so on and so on. And this clearly highlights that hand is a very critical part of functional independence, and that's the problem iRegain is solving right now. And in a post-COVID world, it's all the more important because for the last 2 years, these individuals have hardly got any services to help them just to live their everyday life. So our solution is the My Hand system. What you see on the left, it's a little slot for fingers to go in. Once you put the fingers in, the tablet there tells you step by step what you're required to do. And what they're required to do is based on what we call our proprietary protocols. There are 16 different protocols. Each protocol refers to a specific function. And it talks about, pulling up a zipper, putting on your coat buttons, grabbing a glass of water, picking up a plate of food, or combing your hair. All fundamental tasks which most individuals are forced to be dependent on someone else. We want to change that and make them live an independent life once again. Our system can be used in a clinic or a hospital or through telemedicine. The same service can be provided in the comfort of their home. 3 years ago, I'm sure Steve Grivals, Kyle, Giselle, quite a few people who've seen our device. I've seen what you see on the left. It was a blue box with a few little things sticking out. And through COVID, with all of the crazy ups and downs, fundraising problems to bringing employees into our workplace, despite all those challenges, we continued to grow and thrive, and the product continued to develop. Today, we are here at the right end. So our current product is clinician and hospital ready, and we're currently raising funds to move to a commercial version of our system. So if you know anyone who wants to invest in a high-tech, med-tech company, you know who to talk to. In summary, it's a very large but fully met market, a compelling value proposition, strong IP, low risk regulatory, multiple revenue stream. Most importantly, it's a clinically efficient system. So to go on to the advisory side of things, I really want to say, particularly to any budding entrepreneurs here or those of you who give advice to entrepreneurs, we benefited enormously from the Foundry and the research and development department at Cambrian right from the start. So anyone that's planning to start, I would really ask you to go talk to Foundry, talk to Cambrian, talk to Boreal, Collage Boreal, because they are the foundation. If you do not have their help, it's very hard to produce your prototypes and so on. So all three entities are very, very good at interacting, and we benefited enormously from Foundry and from Cambrian. And through their support, we developed various stages of our prototype. And then I would talk to you about looking at NORCAT. NORCAT has phenomenal support systems, advisory systems, and also has the Forte Lab. We benefited enormously from them as well. Once you've come to a stage where all of these benefits are attained, your next step is to think of going to the city. I think I kind of skipped that out in the last spiel that I gave. I noticed quite a few people from the city are here. Jose Farah, I noticed Elena, I noticed Scott Rennie. There are quite a few of them. The city has a lot of support systems in place. Most founders do not even understand these options are there. So go to the city and talk to them what all they have and what all they can give you. And then also look at all three academic institutions and look at, how can you collaborate with these institutions? You can get volunteers from there who will come and volunteer their time. You teach them and you also get help from them. It's free labor, but it's a two-way street. You can get students to come and do their thesis. I've had at least 5 or 6 students do their thesis. I also currently help with one master's student's thesis. And then comes internships. These are paid internships. There are funds from the city. There are federal funds that support these programs. The company might have to put 25% of their salary. And it's enormous benefit to the society. You develop the local entrepreneurs, local students, and in turn, the company also benefits. But what's really important about this process, it's indirectly an interview process. The company gets to see these students, students get to see the company, and a number of our employees are from the local. I would say 90% of iRegain's employees are from Sudbury, from local academic institutions. And I see Tammy here, and I want to give a big shout out to Tammy as well. And thank you all for the amazing support. And the last part is all of our funding agencies. Do not hesitate to go talk to them. Even if you're not ready to receive their funding, go talk to them. Introduce yourself. They will help you understand who you are. I really cannot stop praising Steve Graval and Kyle right from the start. I'm talking from 2018, 2019. They both have been enormous support in telling us, here's all what you can do. Maybe you cannot access these funds this year, but keep these funds for that year. And they kind of go step by step by step. And then that's important. And lastly, just be so happy you're in Sudbury because you've got all of these resources available to you at the end of a phone call or a Zoom meeting. Like I text, everyone here, Brendan, Adam, Kyle, NOHFC, and they give me time right away. So even if you cannot access funds, the advice they can provide is enormous benefit. It is this society, it is this infrastructure, it is this ecosystem that allowed a company like iRegain, which is very dependent on a lot of these resources to thrive, not survive, thrive. Today, we are a company that has come through enormous struggles. The ups and downs are normal, and it's an everyday process. So understand you're going to have problems, but also understand you have phenomenal partners and support systems in Sudbury, and use those support systems, not just for your company, but for the society we live in. And thank you all so much for being there. Thank you for the organizing committee today for a phenomenal presentation. And I really want to shout out back to Alicia. Thank you so much for your presentation. So glad to have heard what you said. Phenomenal work to you as well. Thank you all.
Thanks, Vineet. Neat to see some cheerleaders for Sudbury. So we've had 2. We got a third one coming up as well. Sudbury, I tell people all the time, as far as a municipality is concerned, Sudbury impacts the world economy more than any city its size in the world. And it's little thing. It's when you think about the impact of that, the statement itself, is very true. We're not a municipality that's connected to Toronto or Boston or Los Angeles, where you have some of these smaller suburb areas. Sudbury is its own autonomous city, but for 160,000, there's a tremendous impact on the rest of the world. And so great to see our future leaders, our current leaders actually speaking so highly about Sudbury. Thank you, Vineet. Next up, we've got Gus Miner. Real pleasure, Gus. We've known each other for many, many years. With over 25 years of technology management experience, Gus has founded several small businesses as well as exited a few. In addition to the technology background, Gus has spent 10 years in the mining sector, having worked in the field with the tools and eventually in project management roles. Now, leveraging all of his experience, he's a co-founder and CIO, Chief Innovation Officer for Sophie. The Sophie tools have the vision to help field collaboration and full inclusivity to ensure that all can go home safely after each workday. Welcome, Gus.
Oh, thank you for that, Josie. And I want to start off by saying, overall, the experience today has been fantastic. So thank you for everybody at Laurentian and the Foundry for putting this together. I've learned more today than on most different conferences that I've been part of or events. So thank you for all the presentations. Lots of great information. And again, it makes me very proud to be part of this community. A little bit on how I came to be, when I was growing up, I mean, we've all, to Alicia's point, you all kind of, mining is a big piece of Sudbury, right? And whether it's your relatives that are working in the industry, or someone that's close to you that's in the industry, there's a connection there. It's a 1 degree of separation or less, right? That you're connected to mining. And the interesting part for me is that growing up, I was always advised by and counseled by my father to never get involved into what he's doing because of the impacts that it had on our family. We've had some losses with our family. We lost my grandfather to a health and safety issue at the mine site, and then the same thing with my uncle. I had an uncle that was crushed by storage supplies in the 80s, right? So it's had a tremendous impact on our family and the community. When I mentioned the names of my relatives, usually it resonates with someone that I'm speaking to in any group. So having said that, I was always counseled to follow different paths. So I got involved in technology really, really early in life. And of course, the pace of the education path for me was a little bit, I'm a little bit of a hyper person. So the pace was a little bit too slow for me. So I started my first business when I was 16 years old. And it was there to be able to provide support for emerging technologies for people at home and businesses. And then eventually the internet came in, and then we were able to do a lot of great work. And that's when I got the chance to meet Josie, providing internet and services for a lot of companies. So, long story short, like Josie mentioned in the bio, I've had the opportunity to start and found a few companies where we didn't have the resources that are currently available today. The ecosystem that is now available in Sudbury is tremendous, and I really, if you would have asked me 20 years ago if this was the place to start a business, I would have probably advised otherwise. Especially in technology, for me, it's either you create your opportunity or you leave. So it's very refreshing today to see that there's so many opportunities with companies being started in Sudbury, such as myself and Alicia and Vineet. We're able to give back to the community by offering those opportunities, and we get to keep people here and happy here and enjoying the ecosystem that we have with the nature and everything that's available and all the resources that Sudbury has to offer. So, having spent some time in mining, I found my way to mining, whether I was counseled not to or not to attend. And then I just said, you know what, there's something there. I'm really interested in the industry, and I think that there's going to be a huge benefit for technology in that sector. And this was back in 2010, where I said,
I think it's time that I start learning a little bit more about this industry and how it can help. And I had the pleasant opportunity to start my career, directly in the field, doing the work hands-on. And experiencing what my family was talking about, and experiencing what my friends were going through, and experiencing what the people around me were talking about what it meant to be a miner, right? So, through my STEM in mining, I saw that there was a tremendous effort put in the health and safety of everybody involved. However, it was very disjointed. There's a lot of efforts coming from a lot of different areas and a lot of different formats, but it was very, very hard to put us together. So that's eventually how Sophie came to be with the vision that we have. Is how do we do things a little bit better? How do we help the health and safety frameworks, and how do we help the health and safety initiatives of an organization come to life, and not have it be something that is maybe a binder that sits somewhere with information, and hopefully everybody has seen it, or hopefully everybody has acknowledged it. So that's what we're doing here now at Sophie. We're able to put tools in the hands of people to be able to access information digitally, offer feedback directly from the field digitally, without having to pass through multiple layers of approvals or multiple layers of authorizations. We need to know directly from people doing the work what is going on, what are their successes, what are the opportunities that we can take on, and really listen to the heartbeat of the organization through digital channels. It's a much quicker process to be able to collect information from the field that goes straight into a database that's centrally accessible than the hopscotch format that the typical paperwork would go through, and hopefully not fall in the garbage can or fall through the cracks, right? So we've been really fortunate to be able to take advantage of a lot of what Sudbury has to offer. We've had a tremendous success with Cambrian College and the R&D department as well. Much like Vineet, I would say 90% of our workforce also has been in direct hires from student involvement, both from Cambrian and Laurentian. And we've been able to really hit the ground running with all of the talent that's coming through the educational paths, right? As well as numerous funding opportunities that have been presenting by a lot of that have been here by a lot of the speakers that you heard from today. And much like Vineet and Alicia, I think I've spoken to just about everybody that's been on the call. So it adds a lot of value to see, hey, are we ready to absorb some support, or are we at the right place in our journey to be able to take advantage of the pieces that are available in our community? And if not, what do we need to do, right? So there's a tremendous amount of coaching that comes through there. So I think, for me, what I'd like to convey the most, much like Alicia and Vineet today, is that Sudbury is a really great place to innovate. There's a lot of people, a lot of organizations, and there's a lot of effort put into the ecosystem to make sure that you're successful in developing and making your visions become a reality. At the same time, we know that most organizations have the hardest time succeeding because of the lack of funding. So it's great to see all of the different options that are available. And I actually learned about more today, different options that are available to ensure your success and make sure that you can keep things moving forward. Sophie has had a lot of opportunities set forth in those formats. At the same time, we had a tremendous opportunity where we were able to associate ourselves with an organization, Technica Mining, which was willing to go through the disruption of change, to go through the disruption of trying our tools out, trying our system out, getting rid of the paper, so to speak, and leading with data versus the previous formats that they had. It was a bumpy road as you innovate. Like anything else, some stuff is working really well and some things need to be adjusted. But they were willing to go through that. And I think that without having that opportunity to directly put our systems and our thoughts in action and test them out in the field, we wouldn't have the solutions that are available today to be able to offer to the rest of the world what we've built here in Sudbury. So that was a great opportunity that was presented to us through Technica Mining. And then I would have to say the biggest opportunity that we probably have as a community, as we continue to evolve our service offerings and continue to evolve our ecosystem, is having the opportunity to get a lot more coaching on the doors that are going to close as you start chasing opportunities, more specifically in the compliance and accreditation space. It's been fun to see how the world has adapted to new systems and innovations. However, there's new guidelines that come in all the time, and how do you comply with those guidelines to be able to capture the opportunities that that you have the opportunity to capture, and not have a door close on you because you don't have a certificate, or you don't have for us with technology, there's penetration tests and there's SOC 2 reports and audits and things like that. So I think that would be a great opportunity. At the same time, building an ecosystem of people that are ready to commit to trying things out. So we've done a tremendous job as a community to keep things here, to innovate. But you're going to have to knock on a lot of doors outside of the community to have the opportunity to try things out. So I've had this conversation with quite a few startups and entrepreneurs, and unfortunately, those are the things that you're going to encounter as a startup or as a visionary or an entrepreneur. Is when you come up with something new, you're going to have to come with some benchmarks as far as where else has this worked, and where else can you prove to us that this is going to work, and that we're not going to potentially fall into a negative investment trying things out. So the biggest thing that probably came to my mind is when I started when I started the coaching process through the SAS Academy, the first question that was asked for us to develop our plan is, what is your exit strategy? So you've just started, but what is the exit strategy? What are you looking at? Building something to sell to somebody else? Are you looking at building something to just be here forever and innovate and cultivate what you're doing? What is your exit strategy? And I think that if I would offer a piece of advice for anybody that's looking at starting something new or getting into the innovation space, it's worth to start at the end. Start at the end, work your way back, so that you can really capture the essence of what you're doing and why you're doing it. What is the purpose of this innovation other than the immediate challenge that you're looking at solving? And at the same time, building a community locally to be ready to adopt or try what you're trying to solve. Because we do have a pretty good group of entrepreneurs locally that are willing to bring their problems forward where they're looking for solutions, but may not be necessarily ready to try out the solution because it might be disruptive to their day-to-day business, or it might be a little bit of a challenge to instill that change within their team. So it's a great conversation to start having really, really early in your journey. Who is willing to give you a shot or to work with you alongside you, so that you can build that credibility while you're building your idea or your solution. You can build that credibility, and when you go to new opportunities outside of the city or beyond, that you've got a track record already of, this is where it's already worked for us. This is what we've done for people in our ecosystem, and these are testimonials that we can bring forward. So we've done a really great job as a community in Sudbury, and I'm really proud to be part of it. And when it comes to building something new and then putting it out to the world, this is the place to do it. And I think that with the momentum that we're building now, we've got a really bright future ahead in building Sudbury up to be something beyond the mining industry. We don't necessarily know it's a finite expectation that we have with the main industry of the city. And I think we're on a really good path to building what's next for Sudbury with what we're doing today. And again, I appreciate everybody's presentations. They were very, very helpful for me, and I hope they were helpful for you. And I look forward to speaking to many of you outside of this presentation and this session today, because I think that we can still continue to build opportunity and drive things forward as a community. Thank you much for your time.
Thank you. I do have to say, I am so impressed with Gus, Alicia, and Vineet that you guys, first of all, there's so much humility in the way that you guys are talking. And I really want to address, if you're a young student here today or a future young entrepreneur, encouraging other people in their journey and not thinking that you are the end all and be all, but you're part of the ecosystem and you might be a very important part, but being humble enough to encourage other leaders, encourage the other partners in this space, super important. So thank you for all three of you guys for that humility and for having a real vision for Sudbury, having a real positive view on Sudbury, because past generations maybe have not been so positive towards Sudbury, but I'll say for all three of you guys, it's a very nice character trait on your behalf. So thank you for that. And so now we've got approximately 10 minutes for questions. I'm going to open up the floor. And so if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat box and we'll go from there. Maybe while we're waiting for people to write out their first questions, I'll ask the first one if that's okay with you. And maybe it'll be a minute each. Silicon Valley can produce many positive and negative case studies on about innovation. On the positive side, they used mentors to build up the next generation of innovators. Who is your greatest mentor and how did they prep you? And maybe I'll start off with Gus, if that's okay.
Sorry, Josie, I'm going to admit something here live, is that I was putting a comment in our chat and I got distracted with the last sentence that you put out there. If you don't mind repeating that one, I'd be glad to answer it.
Yeah, fair enough. So who would be your greatest mentor, Gus, and how did they prep you?
Oh boy, I've had so many, right? Like, for so many that's in the position that we are today as innovators, there's so many that I can mention. But I think for me, I would say probably my biggest mentor has been Mario Grassi at Technica Mining. I mean, he's been a mentor, a friend, and a colleague, and an employer. The patience that he's able to show to the evolving nature of the work and also the evolving nature of the community and beyond has been tremendous to watch and to be part of and to also learn from. And just being able to apply the resilience that he's able to that he transpires when it comes to the change. There would have been a time where I probably wouldn't have had a lot of patience to deal with some of the roadblocks that I experienced today. And the past 20 years of being beside him and learning how he just calmly is able to absorb those impacts and just, reformulate a plan and try again and reformulate a plan and try again has been a tremendous value. And just the amount of energy, time, and money that he puts into, like, he invests into his work, into his family, the Technica family, to not only be there to serve the purpose that's required for today, but to become the leaders of tomorrow. To me, that's probably one of the most valuable lessons I learned along the way. There's really no sense of racing to a finish line where you end up alone and you have to wait for everybody else to catch up. You got to bring everybody else with you. And, it's the only way to scale, and it's the only way to build sustainability, right?
Thanks, Gus. Vineet, how about you, my friend?
That's a very interesting question, because when you use the word mentors, there's too many to comment on. I'm looking at the screen. I see Adam. I see Ian. I see Giselle. I see Kyle, they've all spent so much time with us. But if you ask me to just pick one or two, in 2018, May of 2018, at that time, I still hadn't started. Well, on paper, we had started the company, and I couldn't find a part-time job. So I was driving for Amazon, delivering for Amazon and driving Uber to make ends meet while trying to get the company going. I met this remarkable gentleman by the name Joel Liederman, one of the founders of Mars Innovation, and he continues to advise us. He's a colleague, he's a friend, but most importantly, he's a mentor. Every time I make a mistake, he doesn't laugh at me. He looks at me and goes, "How else could you have done it?" And in the last 3 years, with zero business background, I credit a lot of my business knowledge to Joel. I know Giselle knows Joel quite well too. The second person I'll give a huge shout out to is from Sudbury community, which is Peter Del Bianco. And Peter's been with us, helping us, advising us, investing in us right from the start. I think I met Peter July of 2018. And since then, remarkable amount of support and advice and mentoring. If I want to add some more names, I think Dr. Debbie Saunders and Dr. Dennis Reich. Without the two of them, we wouldn't be in Sudbury. It's the two of them that basically said, "You got to put this company in Sudbury. Come on over and let's do something about it." And since then, it's been a remarkable pathway. But every time I get asked this question, who's your best mentor? I find it very hard to answer that question because one of the things I've learned early in life is never to idolize any one person for anything because nobody is perfect. And every individual around you that you surround yourself with gives you something. And you add that into your skill set. Brendan, for example, is a lot younger than I am, but has given me enormous amount of wisdom in the last year and a half that I've been interacting with him. So age doesn't matter. Diversity is important. So always look for diversity of opinions from across the spectrum. And I like to think everybody I interact with is a mentor of mine in one way, shape, or form. And I think that's exactly what Alicia and Gus were talking about too. It takes a village to grow a child. A startup is no different. And I think I really want to give kudos. I noticed Ian here, Ian Lane, another great person who's helped us a lot. Charles Ramcharan, who's enormously beneficial in advising. Mike Camiro and Cody. And I also have to give a shout out to folks at Canadore College. Even though they are in North Bay, they've been huge support to us. Sarah and Mark have supported us, and Kishore really supported us enormously. And I think that's the key to Sudbury. It's you have the ability, despite our heavy traffic, drive from one corner of the city to the other corner of the city in 10, 20 minutes, and you can have a long conversation as opposed to in most of the places. And the city's really made it available, like what Josie was talking about. So I would really applaud every single person sitting here today for being there for us, startups like us, as mentors, as friends, as colleagues, as support systems. And thank you all. And Giselle, really great work for organizing this.
Yeah, thank you, Vineet. Alicia, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of, echo Vineet in terms of, it's hard to kind of pinpoint one because I do believe that, during your journey, whether it's personal or professional, there's a number of mentors that kind of come and go, right? Depending on what stage you're at, with your personal life or with your career. And I've been, blessed to have many throughout my journey thus far. But, if I have to think of a few that were kind of key to me in making decisions. Like I think, after the Dragon's Den, I was negotiating, giving a percentage of my company away. And I met this most amazing woman, Patrice Marin, who sits on Glencore's board of directors. And just met her by chance. And I felt like she was a bit of my, like a soul mentor I had met, but she really helped to kind of coach me to retain 100% of my business and really supported me along the way. And, Giselle, she was the one that gave me the advice, learn to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. She also, first piece of advice she gave to me when we sat down for coffee for our first session was protect, protect, protect. Protect your person, protect your product, protect your, business. And she said, you do that first. So a lot of really good business advice from her. And then also I've had, other great mentors too. I've gone to Mario for advice too, like Gus has, and he's been great. He's also a personal friend, but Ian Pierce was another, he was the CEO of Extrata Nickel. And how I met Ian, again, mentors don't just necessarily come to you. Sometimes you have to seek them out. And Ian had wrote an article for the CIM magazine when he left Extrata Nickel when Glencore was taking over. And he said, I'm still surprised that coveralls don't exist for women and bathrooms don't exist underground. And I was like, wait, no, they do. And so I reached out to Ian, obviously a little bit nervous given his position, but within 12 hours he responded, and we remained in close contact since then. So I think, you're only as great as the support system that you have around you. And that includes, family and friends. You do not get to this point alone. It is truly a collaborative team effort, personally and professionally. So. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, I thought I pressed mute. Unmute. Thank you so much to all three of you. The wonderful, wonderful presentation. So next, 12:55. So before we wrap up, next we've got the Honorable Vivienne Lapointe. Vivienne is a strong voice and advocate for the Sudbury community. Born and raised in Sudbury, and she's proud to still call this city home. That's fantastic. Over the years, she has built a career on the principles of hard work and compassion for people in her community. And now she works hard to extend those values as member of Parliament for Sudbury. Welcome, Vivienne.
Thank you. And thanks for having me today. I did join this session late, but the presentations and dialogue that I did hear was very inspiring. And it's such a great opportunity to hear from the Sudbury Startup Network. Their support for startups and small businesses in our community is, as we know, is critical for scale and growth. I want to give a big thank you to Alicia, Vinit, and Gus for their insights and sharing in a quite frank way your ups and downs and being an entrepreneur. Some of the important themes that I picked up from your presentations today was that first and foremost, that notion of trial and error. And it's so fundamental. It's a component for innovation. And it's important to know that error is not failure. Error just is one step closer to achieving your goal. And I think that that's something that entrepreneurs embrace really, really well. The second that I heard a lot about is partnerships and the importance of partnerships. And some of those are formal, and I absolutely applaud organizations like Cambrian and Collège Boreal and NORCAT, who are there to help young or starting startups and entrepreneurs. And then there's also those really important informal partnerships. We talked about mentors and doing those reach outs and seeking good guidance and advice from them. I know I've done that in my career, and it's been very helpful to me. I was really happy to hear how Sudbury is such a center and a really important place to be in terms of innovation. As an MP, that is really exciting for me. And I can tell you that drives a lot of my work in Ottawa, is ensuring that those supports are there, either by those agencies that were mentioned earlier or through funding grants, that they're there to help entrepreneurs and startups. And I'll tell you that the other reflection that I have on the dialogue that took place today is throughout my career, I've worked in different sectors, and whether it's healthcare, whether it's social services or mining, I think there's always been such a scarcity of resources in the North. We have to fight for everything we get. And I think that scarcity has made us really, really good at innovating and at creating key partnerships, because that's how we've learned to get things done. So those are my reflections on the dialogue today. I want to thank the organizing committee, the partner organizations, and the entrepreneurs for sharing all of your stories today. It's events like Innovation for Greater Sudbury that are important, and they shine a light on the innovations that are happening right here in Sudbury. Donc, merci au comité organisateur, aux organisations partenaires et aux entrepreneurs d'avoir partagé leurs histoires aujourd'hui. Et je vous souhaite une bonne journée.
Oui, merci, Viviane. It's been an honor today to have emceed along with all of you. I'm going to hand it over to Giselle. So thank you, Giselle, for giving me the honor of moderating this today. And it's over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Josie. And thanks for everybody that participated today. I know we're all tired of Zoom and Teams and on all these online meetings, but again, Innovation for Greater Sudbury did not disappoint. So pleased with all of the discussions today. I wish we had more time. I have questions that, I had hoped to raise and maybe we can revisit some of these conversations moving forward. I've been at Laurentian now for 14 years. And, I remember having this conversation with Peter Del Bianco a few years ago at the NORCAT pitch, like, wow, Sudbury has come around so much in the last decade. When we spun out RNA diagnostics, looking for financing, like just there was none in Sudbury. And, that has grown so much, and the Catalyst Fund is such a fantastic opportunity. But I think there are still some gaps. And that's what I was hoping, at some point to be able to explore a little bit more. And part of my reasoning in sort of suggesting a back to basics approach today is, because, working with a startup at the university and meeting with our funders, like, well, who funds IP? Okay, not this organization, not this funding agency. Who funds prototype development? So what are the gaps? And I've had this discussion as well with Scott Rennie, is like, where can we build? Like, now we're getting an incubator, fantastic, right? But there's always so much more that we can do and growing the ecosystem. So, topic for another day. So thank you to everybody that participated today. Really happy to see everybody that was here. Thank you. Any final comments from anyone? We're good? Fantastic. À la prochaine.